Hey there future Otago students! If you've been wondering how to choose the best hall for your uni journey, you're not alone. I'm Esther, a medical student at the University of Otago, and I wanted to share some insights to help you make this exciting decision. In this video, we'll first consider whether living in a hall is the right choice, and then I'll share some insights to help you consider what are some important factors when choosing a hall, and then finish the video by talking about my experience at Carrington a few years ago. Alright, let's dive right in and answer the first question. Is living in a hall the right choice? And I highly recommend going to a hall if you're planning on studying something competitive like HSFY or law, and you're trying your absolute best to get into those competitive programs like medicine and dentistry. Or if it's your first year in Dunedin and you don't have any family in Dunedin. As we previously discussed in a previous video, the transition between high school and university is huge and even more significant in competitive programs. So in a competitive first year, it definitely helps if you have your meals prepared for you and the extra pastoral support if you don't already have family in Dunedin. Living in a hall is also a great way to meet new people, and if it's your first time living away from family, it's a great way to gradually increase your independence between living with family and flatting. But if you already have a place to live in Dunedin, or you have family there, or you're really good at cooking things really fast, or if you don't have a lot of pressure to do super well academically, the benefits of a hall won't be as significant. And bearing in mind that halls can also be quite expensive. It's like next year, 2024, it's going to be more than $19,000 a year. But if money is not an issue for you and you just really want the experience of living in a hall, then go for it. And as a side, I just wanted to mention that there is a locals program for those who aren't in halls, which includes some academic support with some Q&A for some of the house site papers. There's also some social and community-based events as well. And the tutorials in the locals program are more Q&A focused, whereas in the halls, it's more about covering all the important information again. People have different styles. Some people like detailed summary tutorials like those in the halls. Others would prefer to use that time to study themselves because study time is quite limited. There's also past tutorials as well that are available for everyone. So if you're interested in the locals program, there's going to be a link in the description below. And to sum it all up, being in a hall can be a really big help if you want to do really well in house site, but the benefits won't be as significant if you already have family in Dunedin or you're really good at cooking meals quickly. Now that we've explored whether living in a hall is the right choice for you, let's dive a little bit deeper into the selection process. This section will mainly focus on the factors to consider when making the best decision. I will mention some halls in this section, but I'm not an expert on every single hall, so this section is not going to be about extensively comparing all of the halls. We will, however, talk about some great people to talk to for some specific halls advice. The number one factor is the course you're studying, and since I've done house sci before, I'm going to focus on that. For those of you who want to study house sci, some halls are going to have more support for you compared to other halls, and that's just mainly based on how many house sci students there are. And the halls that are academically focused include Carrington, St. Margaret's, and Arana. When I was in Carrington, they had some pretty good tutorials. They had older students who had studied house sci previously as wardens for pastoral support. And I heard that St. Margaret's has like a mentoring system where they have second and third year students mentor the first year students. Often being in a hall with lots of people studying the same thing means that you're more likely to be able to find good study friends and be more motivated to study. The flip side is that it's quite a high pressure environment, and so take that into account, especially if you find it hard to deal with a lot of stress around you. On the other end of the spectrum, if your main goal is to do well academically, though I do recommend avoiding party halls like Unicol. It just makes it a lot easier to focus on your studying. Another hall that could be a good option is Castle 192. I had a friend who went there this year, and she mentioned that it can be a bit of a quieter hall, maybe a little bit less sociable compared to other halls, but overall she would recommend it for house site, and you get an ensuite room, like, you know, that's pretty cool. So The halls that we just mentioned, Carrington, St. Margaret's, Arana and Castle 192, all appear to be really great options to put as your first choice. For your hall selection, do note that a lot of these halls, they're called first choice halls, which mean that they fill up mostly based on people who put them first choice. So it's probably not the best idea to put them as second and third choice. So you can go to these halls even if you're not studying health sci. I had some friends who studied maths and physics, and they went to Carrington and they really enjoyed it. So, and I've also heard that Carrington is starting to become less health sci dominant as well. So, that's a good thing to think about. The second factor to consider would be the distance to classes, and you can find a rough estimate on the university link. Note that the number is the closest estimate, and the university is actually quite spread out across the campus, and so the actual distance to your classes will depend on what you're studying. For example, business school, dental school and health sci classes are all in different areas. So what I recommend is that you find out what buildings your classes will be in and use Google Maps and determine the real distance between those halls and the halls that you want to go to and your classes. For health sci in my year, it was mainly Castle Street Lecture Theatre and St. David's Lecture Theatre where the lectures were held, and the labs were mainly in the Mallory Labs and the Biochemistry building. The reason why searching the distances is quite important is because, for example, Knox and Salmon on the website, it says that it's about 15 minutes away, and yes, that's true for like Castle Street Lecture Theatres. However, dental school and pharmacy school is like around 30 minutes away from those halls. So moving on, the third factor to consider would be alcohol rules and alcohol-free areas, and people will have different preferences on that. I do want to point out that there is no shame in choosing to have your room in an alcohol-free area. I chose that. Around half of the cohort in Carrington when I was there chose that, and the benefits about an alcohol-free area is the place where you live, study, sleep is not going to be affected by other people drinking and doing things that they normally wouldn't do. And if you do want to drink, you can also go to the areas which you're allowed to drink alcohol, so it works out quite well. And tagging on to that, I understand that some people will find single-sex areas quite important, and so if that's something that's important to you, look at the university website, which will show all the halls that offer that. The third main factor to consider would be the room size and the room quality, and the best way to get a gauge on that is visiting the halls themselves. Do note that some halls will have different sized rooms, and no matter what size room you get, you're paying the same amount. So something to note. And also when you're going to visit the halls, do note that sometimes they might be showing you the best rooms and maybe not all the possible rooms that you could be in. It's also good to try to talk to people who have been to those halls so you can get a better gauge of what the room sizes are like and the room quality. And now I just wanted to talk about my experience at Carrington around 3 years ago. The positives was I really liked the community there. Everyone was really friendly, and I also liked how it was academically focused and how there were a lot of people studying health sci, which helped me to stay motivated to study. Most wardens had previously studied health sci, and they were a really great source of support and advice. Secondly, the atmosphere and the nature there was really nice, and it just has a really nice feeling to it. And a good thing is that there is an option for people to choose to have their rooms in the alcohol-free areas or the single-sex areas if they wanted to. Now, the cons is that Dunedin is quite a hilly place, and Carrington is on a steep hill, and I get that that might be a turn-off for some people. It can be a pain, but it's really good exercise, which is especially good if you're finding it hard to incorporate exercise into your routine like I did. Just be extra careful during winter when you're going down the hill because it does get icy. The other thing to note is that the room size can be quite varied. Some of my friends got quite big rooms, and I had like a small narrow room that used to be one big room and got cut into two. And The obvious cons to a smaller room is that there is less space to move things around. The benefit is that it heats up a lot faster in winter, which is quite beneficial in the Dunedin winter. But overall, the pros definitely outweighed the cons for me, and I think Carrington is an excellent choice for house-size students. Here are some next steps that you can take to help make your decision. Use the factors that we've talked about and select a few halls that you might like to visit, and definitely try to visit them if you can, or look up people's YouTube videos. If you do want to visit, open days is a great time. You can also contact the halls directly when you're in Dunedin and see if they can offer you a tour, and also talk to people who have studied in Dunedin recently and ask about their experience in the halls if that's relevant. Your school liaison officer is also a great person to ask for hall recommendations or just anything Otago Uni related if you're a high school student. And the school liaison officer at my school knew the halls pretty well. Like, he got everyone to stand up and talk about things that they wanted and just gave recommendations on the spot. So, you know, if you don't know who your school liaison officer is, I'm going to show you how to do that now. So all you need to do is go into your search engine, type School Liaison Officer Otago, and then connect with First School Liaison Office. And again, so they're really a great first point of contact for high school students in New Zealand who just want to know about Otago. And you can find your School Liaison Officer by just typing in your school in here. And to save time, we'll just click the first one there, and then it will tell you who your liaison officer is. And you just click there and it will bring up the person's details for you to contact. And you can also ask them about the first choice halls that we mentioned before. So I hope you found this video helpful and insightful to help you choose the best hall for you. And if you found this video valuable, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any tips and insights for your health sci and medical journey. I've got some exciting videos planned, so keep an eye out for that, and all the best for your decision. And until next time, remember to enjoy the journey.